Madam Chair, if I got a second.
Would you yield to me first, Mr. Roby?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank all the residents for citizens coming tonight for their comments. I am a resident of Hanahan, and I know there was some attacks of me and the board tonight, but in January of 2013, just shortly after the referendum, this board placed the Hanahan school site as a top priority. And, you know, as someone said, that all the projects are on schedule, and this one really hasn't kicked off the ground yet. And it's been very frustrating to me and this board, and we want to see this project get underway. You know, I haven't slept. I want to get this project done. It's important to me because I live there and I'm the superintendent of this school, just as the other projects are needed. And you know, all the projects were needed in this county. And we do have an agenda item on the next, the August 26th board meeting that I will bring an update to our board and our citizens on steps to move forward to try to resolve this. If we get together before then, that would be great. You know, I don't, you know, how we're going to organize that to fit within the FOIA laws, but we got a lot of smart people in this room, not counting myself. We can figure that out. So I want to get this resolved. It is a priority, and I would just ask, as Mr. Owens stated, please do not place judgment on the, you asked not to place judgment on the city council, and I just ask that you not place judgment on our board members until all of this is resolved. You talked about some facts that weren't correct. I also heard some facts that weren't correct. So, but if we get into a game of pointing blame about the last year and a half, then we're not going to move forward. So if we're really truly going to come to the table and resolve this, everyone that's going to be a part of that process has got to get past pointing blame, including myself, to work through this. So I'm going to ask, when we do meet, take the gloves off and leave them at home, and let's come to the table with an open mind to move forward. So with that being said, thank you.
Dr. Etheridge.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and for all the comments. I do appreciate them. I want to especially thank Mr. Dyson and Mr. Healy for offering solutions.
Mr. Obey.
I was just going to echo what Dr. Thompson already said, that there's supposed to be an agenda item at the 26th meeting to give us an update on the Tanner Plantation. So, Mayor, I don't know if I'd recommend canceling another city council meeting to come, but hopefully all the community members can come out and hear that update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obey. Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a couple statements, since most of this was all directed at me, and I thought, you know, maybe the mayor and I would have talked about this rather than this, but if this is what has come to facilitate this evening, I guess I'm damn glad I wrote the email. I won't get into it. I disagree with many of the statements, and as some of my smiling friends in the back would say, you know, the facts are pesky things, and they do go both ways. But in the spirit of that, and the fact that Mr. Healy could bring everybody together today, I welcome that challenge, because the reason for my email is the fact that we are so frustrated at the inability to come to any type of resolution without a tremendous set of demands from our perspective. And we won't go any farther than that. Let's just start again and try to do this again, because we've tried it once, but maybe I think we'll do a lot better with you people helping us get that done. So thank you again for coming. And again, I'll stand by my email 100%, but let's not go there.
Thank you. Okay, so that does conclude citizens' comments, and we always want to thank our guest and let you know that if you do need to slip out, we realize it's late, that this is a good time for you to do that. And Mr. Franchini, I think you're up next. Is that correct? If you'll start preparing your part for us, we'll continue with our meeting. Safe travels.
Yeah.
Know how to clear a room? You just say my name and everybody
That's
leaves,
right, everybody gets
I don't
up.
think they want to hear what you got to say. They were good with everybody else.
Okay, Mr. Franchini, let's get moving.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Dr. Levine to come forward to present two policy and one administrative rule for first reading this evening.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Levine.
Good evening, Acting Chair Schwalbe, Dr. Thompson, members of the school board. At this time, I bring to you two policies. One, policy IJNDAA, the distance online and virtual education policy, is a new policy based on some new regulations we've received. And also policy and rule, JCDAAA, and also JCDAAA-R, School Wellness, has undergone some revisions. And that information has been submitted to the School Board's Policy Review Committee. At this time, it is the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading for policies as listed under item 7 of the August 12, 2014 School Board agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for this action item?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading for policies as listed under item 7 of the August 12th, 2014 board agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Etheridge. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Obie. We have a motion and a second to approve first reading of policies under item 7. Is there a discussion or questions for Dr. Levine? Mr. Hayes?
Is there any limit being put on the number of credits that a child can get on an online program towards graduation? In other words, a lot of times if we put they can't have more than 3 or 4 credits other than in the school to be able to get through to graduation and so forth. Because there's nothing in here about how many classes these kids could possibly take online.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, there was a limit set at one point, but I think some changes were made after we took it to our instruction and accountability department. So I'd have to defer as far as bringing the policy to get that information for you.
Okay.
This policy was developed as regards to state regulations and allowing virtual credit. I'm not aware of a regulation that limits the number of virtual credits. However, there are some courses that aren't offered virtually.
Right. Okay.
But we can get you additional information
I just
on
wanted,
it.
because I didn't read anything in here about that.
Yes, sir.
Because based on this, if a child could be in a Berkeley County school, could graduate and never attend a class.
Well, I know that was not the intent.
I know, but I'm just saying,
Definitely.
and that's what the virtual school is all about.
Okay. Other comments or questions for Dr. Levine? Mr. Cooper?
Just a follow on to that, and Dr. Thompson's comment. How many classes in grades 9 through 12, what's the comprehensiveness of the number of classes that are actually offered online? Not all the classes that are required, are they, or could they go all the way through in a virtual environment?
Well, it's not set right now
Yeah.
for them to go through everything completely in a virtual environment. This policy has the purpose of really affecting the students who have the greatest need, because at times we have situations that arise within the district with our students where they may need a class here or there. But it was never, situations like that, definitely, but not the intent for everything to be online. Now, I cannot tell you that there will never be a student who will have a need for this, but that goes along with other policies and regulations that have already been established.
This, and I'll, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Yeah, I'll call for the question then. We have a motion by Dr. Etheridge and a second by Mr. Obie to approve the first reading of the policies listed in item 7. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? First reading is approved. Thank you, Dr. Levine. We have an item for information, PASS and HSAP scores.
Madam Chair, Dr. Thompson, members of the board, Dr. O'Gorman had to leave. His daughter was taken to the emergency room. Ms. Calcutt will make the presentation, and in exchange for all the times that she did for me, I'm going to click for her.
There you go. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent Thompson. Tonight, on behalf of Dr. O'Gorman, which we have heard from just recently, his daughter is going to be okay. So, we've received the Palmetto Assessment of State Standards, which is known as PASS, as well as our HSAP, the High School Assessment Program results. I'm going to share with you a little history. There are lots of changes going on with this state. Why what?
A little closer to the mic. You have a beautiful, soft voice.
There have been many changes across the state and will continue to be with standards and with assessments, so we want to give you the most up-to-date information and try to keep you abreast of those changes. 2012, 2013, that's when we tested all students with PASS in grades 3 through 8 in the areas of ELA, math, science, and social studies. And HSAP, our 10th graders took for the first time, and then if they did not pass, they took again subsequently in 11th and 12th grade. In 2013, 2014, there was a kind of a hybrid of PASS. When we say hybrid, that's because this is kind of like a transition year between our South Carolina standards and our Common Core state standards. So in this transition period, students only were assessed on items that were common to both the Common Core state standards and the South Carolina standards for ELA and math. And then they took PASS also in science and social studies. Our students in 10th grade continued to take the HSAP-X exam for the first time. 2014-15, what's to come? For grades 3 through 8, we're going to be assessed on Common Core state standards, but we don't know what assessment will be used. There has not been a decision made at this time, so we know it's going to be assessing the Common Core state standards, but it hasn't been named for ELA and math. For science and social studies, we do know that the assessment will be PASS, but it will no longer be grades 3 through 8. It will be grades 4 through 8. More changes. Our students will no longer be required to take the HSAP exam. Instead, our 11th graders will take the work keys and high school, college, and career readiness assessment. 2015-16, we will no longer have the Common Core state standards in place. We're going to have new standards in place. We will also have a new assessment in place. Our 11th graders, though, will continue to take the work keys assessment for the second year. So as you can see, there are lots of changes. The test is constantly changing, and the standards are constantly changing. So it's very hard to look from year to year with assessments and measure progress. Currently, the levels that indicate how our students perform on PASS are exemplary, met, and not met. We consider kids to be on grade level if they're met or at the exemplary level. These are our results for PASS. They're very small, but if you'll look, the green bar represents Berkeley County School District. The blue bar represents the state. Writing is the first section. You'll see we're neck and neck with English language arts, math, science, and social studies. We're just a little ahead of the state average results. when we think about pass, keep in mind, remember that this is the hybrid results, which means that the standards that were assessed on the test are a combination from the old South Carolina standards, and they've been aligned with the new Common Core standards. You'll see our results in green and the state in blue. We're following the same trend line from last year to this current year with the state, and our results are a little bit higher in language arts. In math, you'll see a very similar trend. We are above the state average. When we take a look at our high school examination program results, you'll also see that Berkeley County School District is represented in green and the state is represented in blue. The 2014 results, Berkeley counties were above the state average of our students scoring at level 2 or higher. That's passing the state assessment in English language arts. In mathematics, these results dropped, mirroring the state results for level 2 or higher. So you might ask yourself, what is the impact of all this? We've got to keep in mind that as we move forward, that our teachers and students are going to be receiving new standards for ELA and math. So we've got to continue to provide support. In May 2015, they're going to have a new assessment for ELA and math that will no longer be passed. And in August 2015, we're going to be implementing brand new state standards as well as have a new assessment in place. So there are a lot of changes to come, and we just want to continue to support our teachers and our administrators as best as we can to move forward. Do you have? Program evaluation, we have called for an outside evaluator to help us to take a look at how our implementation of our new curriculum has been going. And so we are working together with that outside evaluator, and we are trying to identify high-achieving schools in particular content areas maybe. Maybe one particular school excels in math, and we can learn from what's going on at that school. So the outside evaluator will be spending time giving surveys, talking with teachers, and try to identify those best practices so we can replicate those across the district.
I would like to make one comment before questions, if I may.
Sure.
South Carolina, if you look at the demographics of South Carolina, Berkeley County is the mirror image of the state of South Carolina. So if you measure our test scores versus the state, and we're slightly above that line, then we're outperforming students or districts that have students like ours. If we're slightly below that line, then we're not performing to where we should be with areas that have students like ours. So if you look at our percentage of students on free and reduced lunch, those types of things, we are a replica of the state. So my first glance at the HSAP scores, let's understand the HSAP scores are not required in the state anymore, and you put your money where you're held accountable, and they weren't required. We went ahead and followed through with the test. And if you're I was a little worried about the numbers, but I saw the state average, and you see the entire state drop on the same test. As Ms. Calcutt says, there's a couple of factors that could come into play there. So we are pleased that we held our ground and made a little gain on the state in all of our tests.
Mr. Cooper?
I got a question. On the assessments, have any of the new standards gone into any of the assessments yet? Because if I remember correctly, we talked about the Common Core. A lot of those new the new standards were going to be anywhere from a half to a grade and a quarter higher than the current. So a third grader is going to have to know what a fourth grader knew on the previous year's test, type thing. Are any of those in effect yet?
You're absolutely correct about the rigor of the assessment. The way that they designed PASS for this past year is they looked at all of the South Carolina standards, and then they did the basic alignment. What match can we find there? In math particularly, they could not find enough questions to match it, so they created new questions that were very similar to the others. So
Because the other thing I would say is, there's been a lot in the press, and Mr. Hardesty so kind to remind us this evening, but about the numbers going down. But I would expect statistically those numbers to go down if the test they had to pass this year was a year and a half higher rigor than what they had to pass the previous year.
Exactly.
And we haven't had time to get that cohort of children truly up to that speed yet. So what I'm understanding is that was the first time, but all the standards are in effect. Maybe, well, the standards are in effect, but we don't really know how we're ever going to assess them yet for next year,
Right.
correct?
Our
But they'll be the
assessment needs to
full-
catch up with the
full thing.
The trend was equal across the state.
Well, right, but when you look at the whole state, and that's what's been in the papers, is that, oh, yeah, the schools are failing again because the trends went down, they lost ground. Well, really, we raised the hurdle a lot higher, and the kids that had to take it haven't had the benefit of being totally prepared the previous couple of years to be on that
And
trajectory.
I would say, for our public to understand, basically, our third graders are doing what our fifth graders did a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And so there would be a natural trend for the test to be a little harder for them.
Thank
Other
you.
questions or comments? I would just say, just very quickly, thank you, Ms. Calcutt, for filling in on the fly like that. It is encouraging to see our scores always, but I think given the conversation and our district employees who are still in the room, I'm just proud to serve on a board that knows you're teaching children, not subjects. And that it is amazing what our teachers and administrators do in this district, despite all of the cloudiness and clutter that continues to be thrown upon all of you. I don't think any of us miss that at all, and we're very proud and thankful for all that all of you do to take care of children in our schools, because they're going to show up, and they're not there for standardized tests, and we know that. Our next item on the agenda, we have financial services. Mr. Thomas, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Secretary, Acting Chair, whatever.
Dr. Murray / good looking, I know, go, whatever.
Members of the board and Dr. Thompson. We have the luxury of having, I think, the best school nutrition staff in the state, if not the southeast, if not the country. So
Woo-woo.
thank you. And I'm proud to have them under my organizational chart again. We've worked with them before, and look forward to continued support in the coming years. I want to ask Linda Fairchild to come up and do her presentation and let her introduce her staff that are here. You want to do that, Pam, or you want to do it?
Madam Chair, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's very nice to be here, Dr. Thompson, members of the board. It's an honor to be here tonight and to present to you some things that your Child Nutrition Department has done in the past and things that are coming in the future. And brought up past testing, and I'd like to inform the board that during past testing, every child in Berkeley County receives a free breakfast, hot breakfast that morning, provided by the Child Nutrition Department. If that principal wants to have that in their schools, we are available. We've done that for the past 2 years, and we'll do it again this year.
Awesome.
We're a part of child nutrition. Child nutrition is part of the education program. We support, and we do believe that we are the recipe for academic excellence. My husband, on occasion, gets to preach, and I don't know if you attend church and you're waiting for that supper bell to ring, and he keeps preaching, and you're not listening because you're hungry and you're wondering what's that golden corral. So if we take that to heart, we understand that children cannot learn if they are hungry. So over the course of the 2 years, when I was fortunate enough and honored enough to be interviewed by Mr. Franchini and Dr. Thompson, at that time Dr. Thompson made a statement to me. He said, "We have a good child nutrition staff and team. I want a cutting-edge child nutrition team." I took that challenge to heart. And I think we're leading that way, Dr. Thompson. I think we're under the way, but I have a wonderful staff, and I'd like for them to stand tonight. This is my staff that works with me every day. Thank you. As it was stated by our principals, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and I found some great people to work with me in Berkeley County. We have partnerships, we have developed safety nutrition programs, and for the past 2 years, we are doing our catering services for the district. I did not do that, but thank you.
You want more applause?
A part of our partnerships with the community, we were fortunate enough through the Medical University of South Carolina with a Boeing grant to send 3 of our managers this year to Trident Tech to receive some training in culinary arts. It was Mr. Paul Hart, Ms. Kelly Sheen, and also Mr. Jason Cha-Cha received those diplomas for their graduation. We will now use them in our culinary arts training with our other managers. They will come in and be our train-the-trainers. So we thank Boeing for doing that, and we're also going to have an opportunity to send more managers in January for a 14-week course, and we're looking forward to those partnerships with Boeing. Very proud of our summer feeding program. We didn't stop this year. The week after school was out, we were still feeding children. In 39 days, we fed 159,000 hot meals. We traveled over 8,000 miles in our rickety old vans, but we got them there. And it was amazing. As you can see the picture here, it did not matter what the weather was, temperature, hot, cold, rain, the children met us for those meals. It was very important to them. And it was very important to us because we know that over the summer, students can lose ground on learning. If we can keep their stomachs full, maybe they can concentrate harder and become the citizens they need to be and come back to us. This is one of our volunteers. It's absolutely amazing. Ms. Ahira Ferguson, this is her 40th year to serve meals at Alvin Community Center. She did this before we even started doing this at the school. I kind of did some calculations. On her own, she has served over 78,000 meals to students in the summertime. She's one of our volunteers we could not do without. I just wanted to bring your attention that we had 68 sites this year. Out of 148 sites in the state of South Carolina that was serving hot meals or serving meals for the summer, 68 of those sites were in Berkeley County. So you can see we fed most of our people when they needed us all the time. So we're still there. Thank you, Ms. Africa. Child nutrition by the numbers. Last year we fed approximately 21,000 students, 9,481 for breakfast, and 21,680 for lunch. Just some fun facts. We did over 1,500 pounds of fresh apples, 3.5 million cartons of milk were served. We had a lot of worn-out cows by the time we got through out there in Berkeley County. Our yearly budget is over $15 million. So you can see that we are a large business in scope. Development and communication. We have professional training in-house. Your managers receive over 40 hours worth of training every year. I'm very proud of Ms. Karen Taylor. Karen, would you stand up? Karen is our purchasing coordinator. She has earned her accreditation through the School Nutrition Association. There are only 1,500 people in the nation with this accreditation, 12 in the state of South Carolina, and we have one in Berkeley County. Karen and I both serve on the board of the Alliance. It's a large buying corporation. We serve, I sit as chair, Karen sits as vice chair. We're in charge of 76 districts with a large bid. This entitles us to get great food at good prices. Thank you. This is a picture of some of our training. Again, I want to emphasize that being a manager in child nutrition these days is not just coming in and cooking. These ladies have to know about allergies. They have to know about celiacs. They have to know about learning disabilities. These are professional women. I'm trying to encourage them to know that they're professional and to keep their training up. So every month they attend training with us. Fruits and vegetable grant. Our federal grant this year went to J.K. Gordine, St. Stephen's Elementary, and Cross Elementary. These students are served fresh fruits and vegetables every day as a snack. These principals went out of their way to work with us to get grants so that these students can do this. I'm encouraging our rest of our principals to do the same. It is offered to schools as 50% free and reduced, and we have a lot of schools in the county. Now, USDA picks who they want to receive those. It's not a guarantee that you get them. But these schools have definitely met the challenge by filling out those grants and receiving those funds, and have done a great job with that. Our Farm to School is another program I'm very, very proud of. Our fresh fruits and vegetables are purchased through one of our local Berkeley County farmers, Hickory Bluff Nursery and Berry Farm, owned by Mr. Walter Early. Last year, our students consumed over 335 gallons of fresh strawberries, 565 pounds of cabbage, and 375 pounds of fresh broccoli, just to mention some of the things. This is what I call giving back to the community. Not only was the products that we receive from the farm fresh as they can get, but this also gives us opportunity to pay back to our farmers. It goes back into Berkeley County. How this works, first thing in the morning, our vans load up, they go to the farm, the berries or whatever it is for that day is on those vans, they go straight to the school, and they go straight to the and it goes straight to the line that day. So we call that farm to table. We try to train the students, and if you can see the picture here, this is fresh, it's not cooked. The berries are put out whole, and we keep the tops on them, and we've trained the students to eat the strawberries with a cap. We want them to eat it as fresh as they can. No sugar added. Safety and nutrition. The Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act of 2010 has made some challenges, but for the first time in 30 years, we have an opportunity to make some real reforms of school lunches and breakfast programs and on the school campuses. This year, that part of and on the school campuses will meet a challenge with a Smart Snacks program. This will be a new challenge for not only for the lunch program, school or breakfast program, but also for our principals for what they can serve on campus. I'm working with our principals in any way I can to help them make those changes. Improvements for critical nutrition and hunger safety net for millions of children, and this is working. We have seen that the new changes are good changes, they're just hard changes. Catering, I did not put that in there. Catering has a two-part mission for us. Catering, number one, saves the district money. We're able to do in-house catering. It gives me an opportunity to build relationships with our principals and our staff. But we also, during all our caterings, we have 2 managers or more serving on a catering team, and they're from opposite ends of the county. These ladies and gentlemen have worked together for years, but have never worked together. So we're bringing them together to serve on committees that when we have different committees do different caterings. They learn how to do recipes, they learn how to formulate calculations. Customer service is real big on my agenda, and how to build those team working relationships. We serve lunch. This is one of the pictures from the lunch that we serve our principals, and I think they enjoy that. And we enjoy doing it very much. That's another picture of our leadership conference. This is 2 of our managers that have received the training, and they have gone back to their school, and have also put that into practice at their schools, so they do catering for their staff. No way you can turn that down, huh, Pam? Okay. As you can see, Miss Anitra, who is our award winner this year of the Betty Jo Woods Heart of the Program Award. She took our ideas back. She wanted to honor our veterans, and this is the display that she did in our cafeteria. Anitra has the heart of the program, which all our managers do. 90% of all child nutrition operations do 90% of the same things the same way. It's the 10% we do differently in Berkeley County that spells success, and that's where I'm aiming for that cutting edge, Dr. Thompson. I made you a promise, and we're going to get there. Any questions?
I have a question. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Moore?
My question is, are you planning for next year now? Are you planning for next summer now, or you wait until up near the summer?
We have what we call exit interviews, so we'll sit down in the next couple of weeks as a team and talk about the pros and cons of this year. So yes, ma'am, we are planning for next year already.
And I'm going to tell you why I asked.
Yes,
The ladies or the people that served the children, they were not given anything, any pay. And they've done a good job. However, some of them had to travel to the feeding site and they got nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Had to have the garbage taken out voluntarily. Had no money to pay the garbage collector or whoever. So what I'm saying, it'll be helpful if you could give them something. When the other agency had them, they gave them $2 per hour for 2 hours. That's not much, but it was a little something for them.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I hope that you could look into that.
What Ms. Moore is referring to, all of our sites that we have where we take food to that aren't our Berkeley County sites are staffed by volunteers, which we very much appreciate. And this program that we have is has to be self-sufficient. And if we had, and Linda talked about serving thousands of children, so if we had to pay those site places to open up for us to bring food to serve the thousands of children, then we couldn't prepare as many meals as we did because it would raise our overhead. So we do depend on volunteers to open these sites up, and we couldn't do it without them. But if we had to pay them for their services, then we would have to cut back on what we offer to our children and recipients of this food. So we are grateful. We wish we could pay them, but we just wouldn't be able to operate at this level if we did.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Etheridge?
Yes, sir.
I believe I'm correct. You receive no income from this whatsoever from the recipients. It's all free, completely free?
For summer feeding?
Yes.
Correct, sir. All the meals are free.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Mr. Cooper?
I just want to make a comment and thank all of you that are here, and thank you for your efforts, and please pass on to your team members. I know and have witnessed how you guys go above and beyond the call, working with your principals and the guidance counselors, because we have a lot of kids that go home on Fridays and don't eat again until they get back to that school on Mondays. And I've seen the little bags and the other little things that your teams put together in conjunction with the guidance people and the principals to make sure those kids have something. And I really appreciate your team, and I think that is cutting edge. And you know, please pass that on to everybody. It is recognized. We know the job you're doing. You make great food, but you're taking care of the kids, and that's what we're here for.
And with that, I'd like to extend an invitation to board members. We do have a cycle where we visit every school and eat lunch one day a week. We're actually going to change that to Mondays this year and put it in line with our staff level meetings that we have on Monday and make it part of that meeting. So we encourage all of y'all to come. I had a business associate that wanted to meet with me one time this year for lunch, and I had it on my schedule to go to one of our schools that day, and I asked him if he would meet me at the school and eat lunch, if he'd mind doing it. He said, "Eat a school lunch? I always brought my lunch to school." I said, "Sir, if you will meet me at this school, I promise you that it will be the best lunch that you have all week." And after we ate at that school, he said, "You were correct." So we eat the same food that the children are eating. We don't ask them to prepare anything special. We really don't even like the schools and staff knowing that we're coming that day, because we want to eat the same food that the children are eating. And it is the best lunch that we have all week. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you for all you
Appreciate it.
do.
Thank you.
We're proud of our child nutrition department.
Thank you. Can I share just one? I know you're all busy up there, but there's something I really need to tell this board.
Sure.
The year was 1985, and I was hired as a young mom in this county as a food service operator. It was just a job. I just needed to find something to do to make extra income, but it had to be on my kids' hours. So that's how I got involved. It was in Hanahan. I loved the job, but in those days, Hanahan, there's not a lot of free and reduced. So I didn't see the part of child nutrition that my mentor at the time, Betty Jo Woods, wanted me to see. It was at Christmas time, and I don't know if y'all remember Sandridge Elementary. That name ring a bell? Miss Betty Woods looked at me before we broke for Christmas, and she said, "Linda, the day we come back from Christmas, I want you to meet me at that school." Now, being the person I was at the time, I thought it was a brand new program, something she wanted to show me that I needed to do at the school I was at. The day came, I got there. When I pulled around, my headlights hit the front of that school. In front of the school, there stood children. Now, this is way early morning, maybe 6:30. cold. Didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it, just kind of odd that they were there. Came to the back, and when I turned around, back at the school, if you find the dumpster, you find the kitchen, was always told that. Lots of cars in the back, and I'm thinking, why she has more staff than I've got? This is a smaller school, and she's got all these people. All these thoughts are going through my mind. Walked into school, and there stood Miss Betty Jo, and they were like ants. I do not remember the gentleman's name that was principal, but he had his tie thrown over his shoulder. He was just as busy as anybody else in there trying to prepare breakfast. I looked at Betty Jo and I said, what do you want me to do? She said, best thing you can do is just kind of stand over here out of the way because they know what they're doing. The time came to serve breakfast. The principal went to the front doors. By that time, there were lots of children standing on the stoop. He looked at that cafeteria manager and said, are you ready? And she said, yes, sir, we're ready. He opened those doors. Those children ran in, falling over each other, trying to get to those lines. Back then, we had real bowls with cereal. Mm-hmm. They were grabbing the bowls of cereal without the milk, cramming it in their mouth. The teachers were going down the lines, tying shoes, putting on socks, pouring milk, giving more food, and I had never seen that in America. We should not have hungry children. Betty Jo took me by the arm and she said, Linda, you had the business knowledge of how to do this. You didn't have the heart. I wanted you to see why we feed children. That day I made a decision that this was going to be my job. I was going to feed children. I want to thank the board for allowing me to do that. Nobody should get paid for doing what I do because I absolutely love it. But I'll never forget that day of those children. They needed us and we needed them. But thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do what I do.
Thank you, Ms. Fairchild, and all of your staff who joined you this evening. You are by far the highlight, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, it is very serious business, and we cannot thank you enough for what you do. And you can take your applause with you wherever you go too. You deserve it. Okay, next on our agenda we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we do have long agendas, and I just want to prepare the board that our executive session, probably looking at another hour and a half, 2-hour meeting tonight, and just so the public understands with our public comments, we do restrict that to 3 minutes and 30 minutes overall. Otherwise, we would be here till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just want to thank the patience of our board and chair tonight for allowing us to go over that 30-minute limit. I think that discussion tonight was needed and necessary, so thank you for your patience and allow everyone to have their time tonight. Just a quick update on Stuff the Bus 2014 campaign update. Currently, we have 14 business partners, including each Berkeley County library location, that have collection boxes on site for employees, customers, and members of the community to donate school supplies. I've been informed that Boeing has already collected over 3,000 items prior to our campaign getting underway. We have a list of business partners on our table. If your business would like to participate, please contact us. School supplies will be collected from now until August 26. Each school in Berkeley County also has a collection box in designated areas, such as the school's main office. School supplies collected will be tallied and dispersed to schools with the highest need of supplies. Individuals can also show support by clicking on Support Our District button on the district homepage. This button is linked to South Carolina Future Minds, a 501c3 nonprofit in which all monetary donations will be used by the school district to purchase school supplies for our students in the most need throughout the district. And just as important as our supply drive, the first day of instruction is vital to the success of our school year. So I'd like to encourage all parents and grandparents and family members to have your children in school on time on the first day of school. If you have any questions or would like to participate in Stuff the Bus, please contact Mev McIntosh. She is our project lead for Stuff the Bus, and you can reach her at 899-8732 or call the superintendent, and we will get you in the right place. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. At this time, our next item is executive session, where we will discuss attendance appeals, personnel considerations, contractual matters, and legal briefing. Do we have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Wright and a second by Dr. Etheridge. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We will move into executive session.